Welcome to Family Unmuted, where Ruben and Tiana Estrada open the door to their lives as real estate brokers, owners of a family business, parents, and everything in between. This is our world, Unmuted.
Welcome back to another episode of Family Unmuted. We're on episode 7 already.
Wow.
Years flying by.
Yeah.
Cool.
All right, today we're going to be talking about productive environment. Yeah, so let's first introduce our guest, Isiah.
Hello.
Isiah finally made it on a podcast. He's been sick and I don't know why you haven't... Busy and things, but yeah, some of you might be familiar with Isiah. He has worked with us for a while, but he's been a part of our family for
Years.
4 years now?
Seems like forever.
Yeah.
Yeah, we don't remember not having Isiah. So Isaiah's here today. So welcome.
Woo.
Woo, woo. Woo.
That's about all the excitement you'll get from Isiah, too.
Yeah.
He really is excited.
He's ecstatic.
Yeah.
So what does it mean to have a productive environment?
Well, I feel like all four of us are going to have a different definition. Mm-hmm. And I think that because you're my child, you will know my definition, but you've created your own.
Yeah, it's always been talked about in the household, like, since high school. You know, having a place to do homework, a homework station, just a productive environment, always keeping your room clean. And, like again, the things you say when we're younger, we don't always, see the... outcome until we're older. And now that I live on my own, everything has to be clean. Like, my closet's the cleanest place in the
well, I think that's just
house.
human nature. Like, my definition of things that make me feel productive are completely different now. Mm-hmm. Especially as I entered my 40s, which I've embraced, and I think 40 is actually pretty awesome. But in my 40s, I have felt the need to simplify, on a huge scale. Mm-hmm. So for me, simple helps me be productive.
Well, it's an interesting thing about your environment is your environment tells a lot about you. Mm-hmm. And sometimes it's temporary, sometimes it's a little longer term. But if you have a messy environment, you're probably pretty stressed. Mm-hmm. I don't think most people can operate in chaos, in unorganized fashion. I think we like to trick ourselves into thinking that we can operate in that and we can be efficient in those environments, but I think we're just really fooling ourselves. And there's, I don't think you have to be super organized, but I think you have to have some organization in order to have some efficiency and have a process. So whatever your process is, your environment should probably match that. Mm-hmm. We experienced that this morning, just getting out a simple mailing that, our office space is probably not conducive to a mailing. Mm-hmm. We had stuff everywhere. But at the same time, I say that, and we can't let our environment stop us from progress either. Mm-hmm. Things still have to get done. And I think you just continue to be frustrated if you continue to operate in an environment that's not productive and not part of your process.
Well, I think your environment is just trial and error. We moved into this new space because we're growing and we have more people now, which is exciting, but we haven't been in here long enough to see where our deficiencies are, where we need to make changes. So it really is trial and error. So again, the basis of all of our podcasts seems to be awareness. And so being aware of your environment and thinking why, I was frustrated and frantic all morning. Now I can sit down, now that we got the work done, why was I so frustrated and what can I do to fix that? Yeah. And for me, that just comes down to systems. So yeah, it's trial and error. So you're not just going to know how to have the perfect environment. And like I said, the perfect environment for me is going to be completely different for somebody else, which when you're married or you have a family can be difficult. Mm-hmm. I could be a little anal about things as far as like organization and things like that. So the compromise in your environment is sometimes complicated.
No, we actually had a little bit of a debate this morning too, because we talked about technology. Sometimes technology is supposed to make us more efficient, but there's some redundancy with technology, and maybe it isn't as efficient as we think it is. But yet in the back of our mind, it's like, oh, we need technology. We need technology. Yeah, we do, but it also has to work in a manner that you need it to work.
Mm-hmm.
So there's a lot of technology out there that's not customizable for us that we can actually use to make us more efficient and more productive.
Mm-hmm.
So just being aware of that, awareness.
Mm-hmm.
And then the other thing I want to point out is there's some non-negotiables with your environment. Like we talked about, making our bed. Like making our bed in the morning is a pretty freaking big deal.
Mm-hmm.
Like if we don't make it, for some reason, that's one of those things where we know it's just going to be a messy day.
Like, yeah, I can't like get in a groove if I walk away from my bedroom and my bed's not made. Like that's like, okay, the bed is made. You've officially started the day.
We can't get back in it.
And there's actually a whole book.
Right? It's like, I don't want to mess the bed up, you know?
Well, and there's a whole book on, I think it's called Make Your Bed.
It is, yeah. I think it's on our bookshelf. You know?
Wasn't it
Make our bed.
a general in the Army or Navy?
Oh, yes, I
anyway,
saw a
he
video
came
on
out,
that.
yeah, he came out with a book that talks about the necessity of the practice of making your bed every morning.
Mm-hmm.
And it's true. There are times where mornings in our house are nuts, and sometimes we just go and then we come straight here. And still I'll be like, I'll walk home, and even when I go home, and even if I did have a good day, I see my unmade bed, and I'm like, ugh, I failed.
The day was a failure. Epic failure. Yeah.
So yeah, I mean, making your bed. I mean, what? So for you guys, because we've been doing training about professionalism and environment and efficiency, so what kind of an environment do you guys feel like you thrive in now that you're adults and kind of starting your own lives?
Well, yeah, I think it's just a clean environment mostly. Like now, I don't have a problem taking out the trash. Like,
That's great.
oh yeah.
Thank you for sharing that.
Yeah. But like just having an organized like all our stuff to grab and more systematized like my mom, just it makes it better, and you can walk through like the office without tripping on something, or just all those little things that might frustrate you if they were there. You know.
What about you, Zay? Because I know for you, your personality, you're very systematic, like in your environment and the way you like things and the way you do things. So what for you makes you feel like I'm going to be productive today, like I'm ready to go?
I think definitely like making up your bed. I think there's just like a lot of nuances in my day, just simple little things like brushing my teeth, flossing every time. Like I feel like when you're on a streak for so long and you miss one day, it's like
it's so much more a letdown.
Yeah, I think I'm pretty simplified as well. I think I'm just clean environment, you not stuff everywhere, you have systems in place, be able to grab whatever you need, and whenever you can do it, just at a moment's notice.
Well, I think there's a difference between clean and put together. And I know for me as a mom, and I'm in a lot of mom groups, and I follow a lot of different moms, and there's always the pressure of moms to have a clean house. But for me, in my mind, that's like deep cleaned. Like the floors are clean and the toilets are clean. Because sometimes my house is clean, but it's messy. So there's a difference. I just want to differentiate. Like I'm not cleaning my toilets every single day, and I'm not doing my baseboards every single day. So that in my mind is my definition of clean. But I am putting the mess away. So that's.
So is it like organized and deep clean? Like what differentiates that?
Well, I think there's little things that always give me energy in weird ways, like fresh sheets, or freshly ironed clothes. Or freshly washed towels. That kind of stuff matters. And I think, every Saturday, as you guys know, like Saturday mornings, I wake up and I clean. Like that's when I do the deep clean. But I think it's important to have those systems in place throughout the week where you have everything has its place. which is challenging with kids, especially young kids.
Well, I think Isiah said the right word, prepared.
Yeah.
I think having a productive environment takes a lot of preparation. So it requires a lot of energy up front, which a lot of people, me included, are just not so much willing to do. Like, I don't know if I can put that much energy and keep that up. So that's my challenge of being more productive in my environment, is that it just takes a lot of energy up front.
Well, it also takes a lot of time,
But I'm like,
too.
well, if I'm spending this much energy up front, why don't I just go do it, what I need to get done? So I constantly have that battle in my head of like, I'm all about efficiency. Like, the E in Estrada should stand for efficiency, because it's like, that's a constant metric that I use. Is it making us more efficient? But I should probably change my E to maybe more effective.
I think I've always been like half, like not prepare it all at once right from the start. Yeah, as you say, it takes a lot of energy, and kind of half, like figure it out as you go, and like as long as you're going, you know.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So I think that's how I've kind of always been, just going on.
Yeah.
Just
But then what
just
makes it
school.
productive? How do you measure that?
Well,
And so I was going to say, because Dad is notorious for saying, okay, if you're not going to spend the time here, you're going to end up spending the time here.
Yeah.
So how much of the energy and time that you don't want to put into it up front do you end up spending on it anyway, doing things 2 or 3 times or whatever? You know what I mean? So it's a mind.
it totally is, and I am correct in that. But when I think about like a project, like doing a home project, right? So I'm getting. I know that's a bad word. So when I do a home project, there's sometimes I just want to start it, because starting it gives me energy. And I think that's the hardest part, is just getting something started. But then what happens is, if I don't get prepared, is I'm running out to get a screwdriver. I'm running out to get a hammer. I'm running out to get sandpaper. I'm running out to get all these materials, when I would have just said, all right, let me just take 5 minutes. Let me get prepared. Let me figure out, all right, I can probably have 90% of the things that I need. Bring them in all at once in my laundry basket, which is my sophisticated toolbox, right? Bring it all in at once, and then go from there. So it is a mind shift thing. We're so weird as humans. Like, our behaviors are just so weird.
But again, it's from self-discovery and embracing whoever you are. Like, I tell my kids all the time, there's only one you. You're the only you out there. And I think we spend so much time trying to adapt to what others are doing or what we think works for another person, and it doesn't. And again, we talked about on our last podcast about getting real with yourself. You need to get real with your environment and understand what are the things that bother you and what are the things that don't. And those are just your expectations. They're not anybody else. Like, for me, it drives Dad crazy. I can't go to bed with dishes in the sink. I can't. I won't sleep. It'll ruin my morning the next morning. Like, I can't have dishes in the sink when I go to bed. So those are the little things where last night at about 10:15, I was doing dishes, because I know how much that's going to impact me the next day. So again, sitting down and saying, if in that moment I'm feeling overwhelmed or I feel like I can't get started, well, take a minute and look around and see what is around you and what could be possibly keeping you from making progress.
Well, I think like the one thing that like I struggle with, and maybe other people struggle with, is that when you're trying to prepare for something, you don't see the result right away. It happens after you prepare. So that then you're thinking like, oh, that's going to take more time. Then that's going to take more energy. And then once I get through the preparation, then I have to start.
Yeah.
So, but when you do that, you may take a break after you prepare, and then you come back, and then you're a lot better than you were before. Like, if you prepare, like, got all your screwdrivers, got all your tools, all in one place, started, and then took a break, and then came back, you would be a lot better than going a whole 3 hours of going back from Home Depot and back to home, and then, because...
Yeah, I do that too.
Yeah.
Yeah, thanks for pointing that out. Yeah.
Well, yeah.
So I guess the trick is that starting counts when you start to prepare.
Mm-hmm.
Not the starting counts when you start working on the project.
Mm-hmm.
It all starts with preparation, which counts as a start. Like you're doing something to move the needle forward in that whatever project that is or task at hand. So,
which might be hard for you because you just
totally hard.
Yeah, like just doing it right now, like the mailer this morning. You just wanted to get it done.
Yes.
And Mom was like, "Let's have a system."
No, that doesn't work for me. We don't need a system to put a letter in an envelope.
Clearly we did. Clearly we did. So back to environment.
Yeah.
What contributes to an environment? Is it just the things around you? Is it?
It's the people.
Yeah.
People.
Yeah, people.
What do you mean? What do you mean by people?
Well, making sure that you have people that will support you. In our previous podcast, Mom and I talked about how I got in the business first, and then she got in the business later, because what we figured out was that it was difficult for me to come home late and then have the stresses and not being able to talk to somebody about those things, and not for her not to be able to relate to me. So that causes some friction, and that's part of your environment. So if you're not getting support at home from your spouse, I mean, that's going to cause some issues. So anybody that's at home that's not supporting you is not going to that's not considered a very productive environment for you. So that's what we mean by people, relationships.
Coworkers.
Coworkers, absolutely. Yeah, your culture in your company is a big deal. I mean, how can you go to a company and your culture is very negative? How are you going to be productive in that environment?
And
You can't.
You can't.
It's impossible. It's impossible.
So we've been through, I don't know how many different phases of our business life. Lots of different phases, from a team of 2 people to being solo to a team of 15 people to brokerages in other states. Like we've done all of those things, and there have been times where when we pulled up to the office, we joke about this, but we would sit in our cars and be like, I don't want to go in. I can't do this today. I don't want to go inside and see so-and-so.
Yeah, and it was because of the people. It wasn't because of the job.
No,
Yeah.
I totally, just any job you have, like, even at Under Armour, like, it was so hard because you would have to go and pick up someone's slack, or you would have to
deal with that person.
Yes, exactly. And just talk to them, and you just felt the negative energy coming off of them.
And you've had frustrations, like, in your work environment, too, where you just get to a point where you're like, yeah, I'm out. I don't want to do this anymore. Like, this just isn't working for me.
Well, you've talked about with you and Trinity, I mean, and Trinity talks about this, is that when she goes to the gym, like, that needs to be a very productive environment for her. So she needs to have the weight stations and the weights and the exercise machines somewhat available for her, so she can actually accomplish her workout in a reasonable amount of time. So if you go into a gym and you're like, gee, I got to wait 10 minutes for this machine to be done, and then it's too crowded over here, and then it's forcing you to get off your rhythm, that's not a very productive environment for you. You'd probably end up choosing a different gym, right? So we'll see, because you're going to a different gym tonight, right?
Yeah, so we will see tonight.
Yeah, so you got Lifetime, and you've got this other gym, and you're like,
you're gonna be like, I'm going to Lifetime.
Yeah.
But
so
I
we'll
mean,
see.
if you again, that's about systems and the productive environment. You know exactly what you need when you go to the gym to make it be the type of workout that you want it to be. So if you can't get onto that machine and you have to skip that exercise, you're going to feel like you had an incomplete workout, right? So, so the
environments matter.
Yes.
That's the bottom line.
And, Dad teases me all the time, but I live a lot on hacks, and I need hacks as a busy mom and a business owner. Like, I will take all the hacks I can get.
Hacks,
so,
like
we have like 16 vacuum hacks.
Well, organization hacks, meal prepping hacks, just planning hacks. But for me, okay, so let's talk about your health environment and your food.
Yeah.
Surrounding yourself with things that are good for you or bad for you. There can be a healthy mix. But for me, I have a drawer full of stuff in my office, and if I look in it, sometimes I could be like, yeah, it's that kind of day, I'm just going to eat that. Or be conscious about prepping it and coming, and my intention was to have a healthy environment to be more productive in. So for me, with meal prep and helping my family's environment, is a lot of times when I'm cooking throughout the week, I'll just make double the amount that I need. Or I'll make a huge batch of chicken and prepare it 3 different ways. And then that's 3 different meals. So if you're going to go through all of the trouble of like pulling the stuff out and cutting it and prepping it, just do it once and make a bunch of it. And so I'll have a plain chicken, and then I'll have like a barbecue chicken, or I'll have a shredded chicken, or I'll have a teriyaki chicken, and then that's all these different meals, right? So again, sitting down and recognizing what are the things that you need to implement to help you be more productive. And with our remodel was a huge eye-opener for us as to the amount of clutter that we needed to get out of our environment. Like, I don't even want to say out loud how many roll-offs we had.
Yeah.
3.
4.
4? Yeah.
4 roll-offs, and we probably need another one. Mostly because we are one thing I will say that I do like that we do is we purge a lot.
I'm a purger.
Like,
Yeah.
100%.
Yeah. If my mom's watching this, I'm sorry for throwing all your stuff away. But I am a purger. Just get it out.
Well, it's
There's always that 3-day rule.
It's a year rule. It's really a year rule.
Food and of all the things, I like to tease Dad that he doesn't pay attention to a lot, but he pays attention to what everybody uses in the
That's
house
true.
and to what we don't. Because he will call you out and he'll say, you haven't used that in a year. It's going. And he'll do that to the girls. He's done that to you guys. Like, he has this internal monitor of what we're using and what we're not. So if you were to walk in our house a year ago, it would have felt like, I think about it now and I feel heavy. I'm like, there was just stuff everywhere, like furniture and stuff on the walls, and there was just stuff everywhere. And now when you walk into our house, especially last night, I finally put all of Christmas away, and it's just like, there's nothing on the counters. There's very few pieces of furniture. Now, for some people, that might feel too cold, and that's fine. I get that. But for me, it's just the less I have to handle and the less I need to deal with, the better. So get as much clutter away from me as you can. I'm over cluttered. So at this point in my life, it's simplistic. I mean, down to my walls. My walls are white. My countertops are white. My cabinets are white. I don't want to have to make any additional decisions in my environment. Just super simple. So
Cool.
simplicity for me is key.
Anything else you guys want to add?
No, I think that goes like that concept of purging goes to like everything around. So your relationships, if it's too cluttered, if it's
Facebook.
Yeah.
Purge on Facebook. There's been some times where I'm sitting on Facebook and I'm like, I get angry every time I see something from this person. So why am I still whatever? So purge your Facebook. Purge mail. Like, some people will hold on to every single piece of mail. Like, you got to purge that. So just clearing out and making space. You have to make space for a productive person.
Yep.
Cool.
Don't you think?
All right. We talked about our environment, how to be more productive. Be okay, purging, all the P words. Preparation.
Purging, systems, implementation, which for some of us in this room is the issue.
I'm guilty. Guilty.
Yeah. So if you can't do it yourself, find somebody or someone who can. And sometimes it's worth the investment. I know there's professional organizers, there's house cleaners, there's there's a lot of people out there who offer services. If you are just not made for that, but you understand the importance of it, then seek it out and get it done, because it truly is an investment. And I think whatever you spend on a specialist coming in and helping you, you're going to get that out and more in your work and whatever you're doing. So I truly would look at it as an investment into your business and who you're becoming.
Very cool. All right.
Awesome.
Till next time.
See you next
All
time.
right.
Bye.
See ya.